Yeah, I think we are flexible. We will see
Okay, just let me know, or I
how
can.
the conversation is going. Okay.
And I will make sure you are a co-host.
That would be good because I would like to share my own screen.
Yeah. And I'll make you a co-host.
And audio is okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yes. And we just finished, so it might take a minute for people to pop over.
Yeah, you let me know when I'm.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can. Any maybe introductions, if you like.
Yeah, we can start with that. I'm Karin Lohwasser. I'm from UC Santa Barbara, and I'm a lecturer, or what we call it, teaching professor there. I'm mainly teaching science education, both for the undergrads and also science methods classes for the teacher candidates. And I'm a content supervisor for the science candidates. And I have my partner, that's Kaylee. And yeah, go ahead, please.
Hi, I'm actually a PhD student at UCSB, but I work closely with Karin. And before I got to UCSB, I taught 8th grade science for 5 years. So I bring a different lens.
Okay, let's start. So yeah, thank you for being here. And as we know, we just recently had the hottest day on Earth so far since we have recorded the temperature. So climate change is by now an undeniable, not just an inconvenient truth. Thanks for being here and thinking with us how bridging the two worlds divide through an interdisciplinary approach of climate justice teaching might be possible. So the two worlds divide, or the two worlds pitfall, is the term that was coined about 30 years ago. And it means that teacher candidates have to reconcile the different things and the different instructional practices they are learning in the teacher education program and what they're experiencing in their schools. And when it comes to climate justice, I think by now it's actually 3 worlds, because many of them bring their own vision of how they want to bring these difficult topics, not just climate justice, but also equity, diversity, inclusion, cultures into their teaching. And that might be very different from what they're experiencing in both the teacher education program and the in their schools. And we know about this divide, but because as supervisors, we are sitting smack in between, and we have to help the teacher candidates and sometimes also the cooperating teachers to navigate these divides. And I'm really us as a community of practice of supervisors think about how we can turn this challenging ideas we want to bring in and this divide, how we can use that in a positive way, in a productive way, in a way that can actually enhance the learning of the teacher candidates. So together, I hope we can discuss the 3 questions we have: how to support teachers to teach challenging and difficult topics, and how that can lead to an increased opportunities for candidates and teacher candidates to engage in authentic co-planning, and how might challenging topics lead to I can't see my slide, lead to co-mentoring and flattening the power structure between cooperating teacher and teacher candidates. But before we start, I would like to acknowledge that the University of California, Santa Barbara is actually sitting on unceded land of the Chumash people and various Chumash tribes. And I ask you to join me in honoring the Chumash people, their elders, past, present, and future. And let us remember that the native people of our areas have taken care of our land and of our waters for over 10,000 years. and just compare that to what we have done in the last 200 years to the environment where we live in and from which we live from. So I want to encourage you to, if you haven't done that, to really learn more about the indigenous way of thinking about the natural way. And we as science educators, we are thinking about the concept of the two eyes perspective. The one is the indigenous perspective and the one is the scientific perspective, and how we can bring that together. So we have introduced us, and we would also like to know a little bit, who are you? And maybe you can very, very quickly in the chat put who you are and what is your role as a supervisor or instructor, or yeah, what is your role? And I stop sharing because I can't see my chat. Okay, so we have mostly supervisors here. Thank you. Okay. Now I think I have managed my screen here. So what to expect? So we will outline the foundations of our thinking of these three different questions we just mentioned, and also a little bit introduce the work we have started with our cooperating teacher. And we hope that as a community of practice, we can explore opportunities to encourage and support the teaching of climate change and environmental justice and sustainability in our programs and schools, and potentially start a collaboration on practice that could support this work. And since you are here, I assume that you're all interested in more or less in this topic. And I leave my screen like it is, because otherwise I have a hard time handling all these different things I have. So the climate crisis, the question is how to support teachers to teach challenging and difficult topics. But before we go there, we want you to think about how has the topic of climate change come up in your work as a supervisor? And what do you see in the field related to topics that surround climate change? So if, Kaylee, can you share the link in the chat? If you could, for your own thinking and for your sharing, either share your ideas and your experiences in the Padlet, or if that's easier for you, in the chat. And we will also put you afterwards a few minutes in breakout rooms, but we want you to think first. I think that for me, that's always helpful. And then go and share the experiences in the breakout room. So if you just focus on the first two questions, then we will go to the next two questions that are on the Padlet later. Kaylee, can you share the Padlet? So since we are a relatively small group, probably for time's sake, let's just read what we have. Can you move up a little bit, Kaylee? Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. That's a challenge of elementary, yes. Oh, thank you, Kaylee. Can you stop sharing? Anybody wants to share their experiences? Some have said, you know, they really see a focus, they see anxiety. Some say they don't see that, but they wish they see. If not, okay,
I'll just chime in because I think
thank you.
it's hard for our candidates when they're not seeing science in the classroom. And we have a really amazing science methods instructor here who talks about climate justice. And so I think it's finding their way and imagining when they have their own classroom, how they're going to really make that part of the culture of their classroom. So I think it's balancing the realities of many school contexts where unfortunately science, at least for elementary.
So the question, I mean, it's especially in the interdisciplinary world, it's a relatively unusual thing to maybe see really climate change addressed very targeted. So why is that an important thing? Why do we think, of course we are science educators, but why do we think it would be important to have an interdisciplinary approach to this topic? And I give over to Kaylee.
So I don't think I need to remind you, but your jobs are so vital and so important that you guys can really be the catalyst to drive these conversations and support teachers and having these conversations with their students. And you all are trusted messengers. But why now? I think we kind of saw it mentioned in the Padlet about how politicized this has been, and it made me reflect on our wonderful keynote speaker, Micah, when she talked about different conversations that are not being addressed in the classroom, whether it's about race, gender, sexuality, culture. And another part of that conversation that's missing is climate justice and what are we doing with our environment. And because it's been highly politicized, teachers are hesitant and fearful. I also want to highlight, based off of the Padlet and what Lisa had mentioned earlier, is that it's difficult for teachers to teach something when they themselves have not seen it, or maybe have not themselves been taught about climate change issues. So I brought in this bold question of thinking back to when you were a K through 12 student, what did you learn about climate change? Maybe you didn't learn about climate change, or maybe the ideas that you did learn about climate change are challenging the science, questioning the science and the accuracy of it, when in fact, the science community is not arguing these facts. It's very clear that we are causing great damage to our environment and to many ecosystems, and it is all human caused. So these misconceptions and miseducation has occurred in our classrooms where teachers either don't want to talk about it or it's avoided. And I think it's important to recognize that we know that the educational system as a whole has a great responsibility in ensuring that these issues around climate change are addressed. And we do see that being reflected in frameworks changing and standards changing to address these problems. But this cannot fall just on our educators. It cannot fall on science educators alone. So we are going to be discussing how to invite teachers to also invite students from all disciplines into the conversation, and also to think about climate anxiety, which I did see on the Padlet, not just focusing on the doom and gloom, this is the issue, but how can we support our students in feeling like they're doing some positive change in their communities and taking a solution-based approach.
Thank you. So while we are experiencing the heat waves all over America and of course globally, even worse, climate change will be a reality for the students who are now in our schools. And we need to really support, as Kaylee said, the future generation of teacher candidates to deal with these issues that are, because climate change is exacerbating all the other issues we are talking about, like inequity, social inequity, racial inequity. We just have to think now, I mean, who has air condition and can ride out in Phoenix, these heat wave, and who cannot afford air condition? So we already have these, worsening of these divides through climate change. And that leads for our students to climate anxiety that was mentioned. And I want to give you just one resource that's from my colleague at the University of Washington. She started a course that addressed climate anxiety and has now a blog, a podcast. It's called Facing It, where she really talks about how to accept climate anxiety, work with the students with climate anxiety, and turn the climate anxiety to something that can be positive and can lead to action. So I will share this resource with you, of course. We have the California Education and Environmental Initiative since 2004. So that is actually, it was required that this was part of the curriculum for over 20 years, but we are often not seeing it in different subject areas. So there is a new push coming from the UC and the CSU system in collaboration with 10 Strands and other community partners. And this is really to advance pre-kindergarten through 12th grade climate and environmental literacy, justice, and action. There is right now 6 million put into this effort to create additional curriculum resources. And there are also laws that are coming through the pipeline. So we have, as supervisors, we have to prepare to bring these topics in because they will come our way. So better we know and are not surprised what we have to do. So, but how does it lead to an increased opportunity for cooperating teachers and teacher candidates for authentic co-planning? In our own research, what we have found with science teacher candidates, that a huge amount of the teacher candidates have never really experienced co-planning with their cooperating teacher. And that's kind of not surprising because our very good teachers, they have planned for the last 5, 10, 15 years. And it's so unconscious. I mean, they plan when they are driving, they plan when they are doing the dishes. And they know their students and they have all these cases in their head and they know how to adjust the teaching for their classroom, at least in the best case scenario. But it's so unconscious that it is really hard to bring the thinking behind the planning to the open so it can be recognized and experienced by the teacher candidate. And there's also, of course, an issue of time. So we have these inequities of opportunities to learn how to plan between this classroom where there are these opportunities and where they are not for our teacher candidates. And my hypothesis is that candidates' opportunities to learn how to plan instruction will increase when cooperating teachers and teacher candidates need to engage in authentic co-planning or in adapting existing curriculum by including new ideas, for example, about climate change and climate justice. So if it's new for the cooperating teacher and the teacher candidate, then they are both learners and they can both bring expertise and knowledge to the table and work together to bring from new activities, new framing to whole new units into their classroom. So that is also the idea of reciprocal mentoring that can flatten this power structure between cooperating teacher and teacher candidates, and in the best case scenario can really make them almost equal partners, at least for the time where they are adopting or creating a curriculum. So we have tried to start this work with our cooperating teachers, and Kaylee will tell you a little bit about how we did that and how we envision going forward.
So we had a wonderful turnout of all sorts of participants. It ranged from supervisors, faculty member, teachers that are cooperating teachers, teacher candidates, and they all were able to participate in a couple communities of practice, one of which that focused on climate change and climate justice and sustainability topics in the classroom. We received a ton of positive reviews and feedback saying that they are now starting to think about ways to integrate these topics into their content areas, whether it's art or ELA, world history. So you see here pictures of these groups of teachers that are offered time to plan, which teachers don't often have a lot of time to do, but when they are given that time to collaborate with their colleagues and across disciplines, they are able to get ideas on how to integrate different perspectives on this topic. So these are some responses from our teachers, and some pictures of them engaging in what we gave them was a climate fresque. It's a free activity that just engages teachers in conversations about kind of the anthropogenic causes of climate change and some mechanisms behind it. And I wanted to also share on the next slide, elementary teachers, which is another area that was brought up in our Padlet about like, what do we do if we're elementary school and we're not really teaching about science topics like this? This is an example of what resulted from this community of practice with elementary teachers. A group decided that they talk a lot about like the water cycle and carbon cycles, which is great. Honestly, we need those concepts in K through 6 so that when they reach middle school and climate change is actually addressed in those standards, they're able to take all of those ideas and put them into this topic. But what we see here is we have Meatless Monday. So they talked about how like they want to do this school-wide initiative that teaches their kids about different things that can help the environment. So like, let's have conversations about how to reduce our consumption of meat and why that's important to not only your diet, but to the environment. Picking up trash on Tuesday, walk to school Wednesday. So talking about carbon emissions and carpooling. Thirsty Thursday. So maybe this takes on a different meaning now for elementary, but the importance of bringing reused water bottles to school. Food Waste Friday, so discussing ways to reduce food waste on their campus. And they also discussed about a school clothing swap where they could partner up with another school. They have a ton of like clothes that are in the lost and found that no one has claimed. And rather than giving it back to the students that are on that same campus, just to avoid a student wearing someone else's sweatshirt and then a student being like, hey, is that my sweatshirt? Switching it from different schools and giving it to families that are in most need and students that are in that population. So these are just ideas that came about from this professional development. Certainly you can take this and adapt it if you're an elementary school teacher, but this is what our teachers are capable of doing when we are engaging them in these spaces that invite them to think and reflect on what to do.
And now I'm sure you have ideas by now. So can you revisit the Padlet and share your thoughts on the following questions and on the other prompts as well? What questions do you have regarding your role in relation to climate change issues? And what additional thoughts do you have at this point? And then we really want to put you in breakout rooms, and then we have some more ideas, and then another section of breakout rooms, and make it maybe more concrete. Okay, I stop my sharing, and the link is in the chat again. Great, I love that. Okay. Kaylee, do you want to put up some breakout rooms, or shall I do? Yeah, you do.
Did we want to do the picking a content area, or just like random breakout rooms?
Just random breakout rooms right now.
Okay.
Just, I think 4.
4? Okay.
Just smaller groups, and we can. And I would encourage everybody who is first in the year with their birthday to start. Maybe that encourages you. So when you are in January, so you are Trump. No, we don't Trump, sorry. Then you are ahead of February or March. So yes. And we will join Kaylee and Lisa and Louis. Okay.
I believe I opened them.
Okay, 3 minutes. I think that's enough. 4, yeah. Join. Yes.
Lisa, I don't know if I put you in a room. Did you want to go in a room?
I know, it's so weird. Somehow, because I'm the host, my Zoom isn't letting me join rooms. It was frustrating me yesterday. Maybe you can put me in a room. Am I not on there?
Yeah, you're not even on there.
I think I might have clicked something in my Zoom. I was changing all of my settings, and I was like, why am I not? I might have clicked the box that said don't. When you're the host, you know, because sometimes it'll automatically put you in a room. But
Yeah.
let's see if I can join. I don't see myself either. Oh, I can join. Yes, I can join room 2, I think. Although yesterday it kicked me out of the Zoom. So if you don't see me,
Oh no.
yeah.
Mm.
I have heard really, really, I mean, so good, such important issues. So the one, of course, the hesitancy that teacher candidates, and we heard that from our keynote speaker, are hesitant to bring these things in when they feel not supported and vulnerable in their position, because, you know, their first goal is to be hired, and then they hope they can do more. So any other issues or any other thoughts you have heard in your group you want to share? Can we probably, so I think we were group 1, can probably group 2 share something, and maybe the person with the first in line birthday might also share out.
In case you forgot what room you're in, I see that Jan and Paula, and I think Lisa, you had joined that room too.
That's the funny part. The what room are we? Well, when in our group we solved all the problems.
Oh, yes.
Not. We did discuss the hesitancy and the issues affecting all of America and all of the world. So just, no, we didn't come up with anything.
Room 3.
That was Rhonda and Terry.
Where is Rhonda? Oh, she's there, but she's probably okay. She's supervising kids at camp.
Yes.
Okay. I talked too much at the thing, and we didn't really get to share much among us, but I pointed out that I really liked the school-wide goals that were suggested, and that I think they could be really useful at middle school and high school as well. And I'm going to share them with my union friends, because that's something they could bring up at Rep Council and share out to all the schools, and especially in middle school and high school, because they have ASB that can do that kind of thing. That becomes a kid-generated program, which is always your preference. So I think those are great. I like that.
I also wanted to share what Rhonda had mentioned, because I heard from Karin that there's hesitancy in like teacher candidates not feeling protected, they're not tenured, and how are they going to teach these topics? And Rhonda had brought up something about doing kind of like behind the scenes work, like maybe working with leadership and like getting them on board, or like having discussions with like parents in the community. I think that is a great thing for all teachers to do, but maybe something that's not as direct as like hammering out all these social justice issues in the classroom, day one, year one, but kind of like working with administrators and community.
Thank you. So the hesitancy and the doom and gloom doesn't really help us. So we came to the conclusion that focusing on solutions has actually a lot of content in there as well that we can use, and we can bring into the classrooms, and avoiding probably maybe some of the contention that, or the negative feelings that come up as when we talk about climate change. But first, I would like to, from my view, and I'm a science teacher, so but I've thought about the other subject areas a little bit, and that's what I came up and what I found so far, just to give you some nuggets to think. So language arts and world languages, Sir David Attenborough says, saving the planet is now a communications challenge. As we said, science knows, I mean, we have no issue here, but how can we communicate that? And that really lays flat in the area of language arts. And Bowman, and it's just have a quote here: climate action is more than protest. It's also a world building project, a creative methodologies that can aid researchers and young climate activists as we imagine together worlds of the future. And I think we are at this turning point that we need to change how we live, but we really have to positively influence where this change is going. And I think that's where equity and diversity and inclusion and being culturally relevant is really playing a huge role. So while we are changing, we cannot avoid changing because the world is changing for us. So we have to change with it. But how we are changing, that is our responsibility to influence in a positive way. And English language arts, that's really a big, big role to play here. Social science is actually required by law in California to teach environmental things, and but I don't really see that so much because it is hard. But specifically, the inclusion of social science skills and perspectives is crucial to climate change education, informed citizens, mitigation, adaptation, suffering. So I think that is really important for social sciences to address. But history might have to do the most reframing and the most work for themselves. So this is from the Royal Historic Society from the United Kingdom, and I'll let you read that for yourself and just resonate with you a little bit. And I see that as the biggest challenge is how to reconcile the idea that we are advanced and we are on the top, especially, in America, the exceptionalism, how great we are, and how to reconcile that with, with where we are right now. So, and mathematics, it's actually nothing to say here. I mean, climate change is a statistical phenomenon. Calculating averages, analyzing variances, making diagrams. Knowledge and climate knowledge is embodied in text, diagrams, and charts. So to really have this communication of the uncertainties and the certainties and just the statistics. I mean, without math, people will never believe what scientists are saying if they don't have a trust into math and a trust into their own abilities, that they can at least grasp some of the mathematical concepts that are behind these changes. And art, oh my God, art is so important. I'll let you read that. So you have a little break from my talking. And especially for the anxiety part, also, of course, art is such a valuable tool for us to help students get out their ideas and their feelings. So we are too brain focused anyway, I think. So we need more of the arts. I want, Kaylee, is that yours? Your part? My part? I forgot.
Your part.
My part. Okay, so I want to share with you a really important resource that is the Project Drawdown. It's important because they have focused for many, many years on solutions. So the 3 areas of solutions are reduce resources and bring reduce sources of carbon dioxide and methane, and bring these emissions to 0. Then support sinks. That means our natural cycle actually is capturing carbon. That's the carbon we are now using because that's millions of years old. That's the carbon from the past. So we have to reverse this idea of taking out the carbon from the past, and we have to restore natural sinks that carbon can be naturally taken out of the environment. That's, for example, agriculture and really tending to the soils, and that agriculture can do a lot of here. And probably most important, really improve society and fostering equity for all. And if we look at these solutions, and if we also look at who is talking about climate change, these are actually the countries that are impacted the most by climate change. They are talking about that, they have these heroes. And I think another thing is really bringing these climate heroes, the young climate heroes, into the classroom and just showcase what people all over the world are already doing, and what they can do can be such a positive, create a positive impact and a really hopeful climate in our classrooms. I leave that out. It's in the PowerPoint, and I really want to go and just one thing. That's a little bit of my crazy thinking. So we have cli-fi and we have solar punk. So cli-fi, climate fiction, when you think about language arts, I mean, fictional stories, to create fictional stories, it's integrated in language arts. And what we have mostly seen so far in climate fiction is dystopian. So there are these famous short stories about Florida. They're really gorgeous and great, but it's absolutely, I mean, you don't need to read too much about that. Otherwise you get nightmares. And then there is, on the other hand, solar punk. And solar punk is a little bit kitschy, and it reminds me of art that I don't like, but it's absolutely radically optimistic. And I think if we can bring this radically optimistic view into the classroom and say, how do you envision a better world, a more just and more sustainable world? If we can help students imagine a future, because how can we go to a better future if we have no way to imagine this future? And that might be really an inroad into bringing these issues into the classroom from this very, very positive idea of a future. And then students might need to learn more about the reality and how to go from the reality to a future they can envision and they really hope for. And then also ask what they can do as individuals, but more important, as concerted actions. So we would like you to choose breakout rooms according to the subject areas you're most curious in. And I think we should have these breakout rooms already for you to choose. Let's see. And if somebody is alone in one breakout room, just move to another one where more people are. Let's see how that goes. This time, the last one in the year of the birthday is starting. And then please decide who is sharing out from the group. So we,
Can we get the question in the chat maybe, or I didn't get a chance to, I saw the question, but I didn't stick in my head. The discussion question.
Thank you, because Zoom is so long ago that we have, and I've forgotten half of my Zoom skills. Just get ideas out how you can support and empower our candidates to inquire into issues in climate justice in different subject areas. So more ideas. I gave you some ideas, and maybe you have ideas. And we have 21, so like 6 minutes, and then share out in a group. Thank you, Kaylee. It's in the chat, and let's see how that works. Where are our breakout rooms? We are all waiting for the others and see who we want to join.
I forgot to make a science one.
It doesn't matter. Science is okay. We don't need a science one.
Whoops.
I join.
Where are the groups to choose to join? I'm used to something popping up and saying, go here.
I believe how it looks on your screen, it should have popped up like a choice for you to go to, but in case it didn't, if you look at the bottom of your Zoom screen,
Mm-hmm.
you see like more, and then it has like breakout.
Okay. Got it. Thanks.
Mhm. Paul, are you able to see that on your Zoom?
No,
So are you on your like Zoom screen right now?
yes.
Do you happen to see where it says like raise hand and then it says apps and then there's like 3 dots and it says more?
I see my hand here.
Do you see the more button?
I don't.
I wonder if I can put you in a room. We have them in different different subject areas. We have a few in art, ELA, and math.
Oh, wait, I just found it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll just join the ELA one.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
I would have loved to have more time for discussions, but we are almost out. And I think what I'm hearing is there are these many connection points, and maybe as supervisors, it might be our task to just remind people that this might be an area where we can bring that in, and here we can mention that, because it is really affecting every aspect of our life. Then we can also, bring it to every aspect of what we are teaching. Final thoughts from the groups or ideas, just throw it out, popcorn.
Well, Nellie shared a really cool, I don't know if you want to put it in the chat here, environmental graffiti website.
Cool. I don't
Yeah.
know that. Love that.
And then she's also designing a course right now on climate action. Is that what she said, Nellie? Yeah. I just wanted to add, earlier when we first started today, I'm going to create sort of a shared document where all of us can keep in contact and communicate. And somebody suggested having topics of interest that you can kind of join, like a forum talking about climate justice. So I will make sure this is one of the topics that I put on that shared space for us to continue talking. So
that was my last slide. Next.
Thank you, Lisa.
And
Mhm.
collaboration. Do we want that? And we had great ideas, I hope, in your subject areas to spark a little bit. It's often just being conscious about it and keeping it on the forefront, and we can't avoid it because it's on the forefront of the news. And in our group, I think Paula said, it's connecting the lives of the students with the classroom, because when there is smoke, then they are really affected by climate change right here, right now. And we cannot ignore that. We cannot just close our doors and say, we do Goethe or Schiller or whatever we would have done in Germany. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, we have a
time.
10-minute break. I didn't put what I can do is put the links for the next 2 sessions in, you know what, I'm just going to put the whole program and you can find the links, but it starts, next session workshop start at 10:40. So you have a 10-minute break, but let me just put this in the chat. That's the link to the program. So we'll see you shortly. Thank you. That was a great session, our workshop.
Thank you. I hope to see some of you again. I would love to collaborate around that. Take care. Have a good day and a good weekend. It's coming up.
Yeah.
Karin, thank you so much for bringing up the smoke like fire connection. Because this whole session I've been thinking about, somebody who is in Bakersfield and, struggling, and non-tenured, brand new teacher, and really struggling with how to even broach these kinds of subjects, and being met with defensiveness or hostility, especially sometimes at elementary school levels, where some stakeholders are going to feel like you're doing this for a political agenda, but talking about making connections to smoke, fires, all these things that they are actually experiencing, I think is a really, really brilliant way to kind of handle that, because it's something that they can see and smell, and it's real to them.
And then they create the questions.
Yes.
And then all you do is help them answer the questions they have.
Exactly.
Not me, it's
Yeah.
our students.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they were wondering about this.
Yes, and they're really, and make sure that your teacher candidates or whoever is really recording these questions in writing, so that you have the children's writing, and that it's you have proof that it's coming from them.
We will make it. We will. I will advise them to make a driving questions board.
Yeah, about the smoke.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's because I've been trying to think of something that's really, really applicable and I think that that's just, it's so apt. So thank you so
And
much.
sadly so, yes.
Yeah, yes, very sadly so. But maybe the silver lining is we can get more people aware and involved. So
And
yeah.
there are lots of solutions coming along. So it is
Yeah.
actually, if you look at the future, it can be really change into something really good if we make it
can.
so.
It can. I love that optimism. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. Take care.
Bye-bye.